Welcome everyone to this month's Ask FEW Everything from Malaysia. I am the Malaysian ambassador for FEW, Female Entrepreneurs Worldwide, and I'm Coco Wong. I am actually a coach. I'm a parenting coach, and I help parents bond with their children through better communication and through interactive online adventures. And today we are going to explore this topic called Do You Fear Judgment? Okay, so welcome everyone. Welcome Jacqueline, welcome Julia. And this is something that has been recently discussed a lot because since the pandemic, I think a lot of people are going online to find ways to pivot and to post. And I'm seeing a lot more Facebook Lives going on social media and etc. And the number one reason that I get from my friends and people around me for not doing that is the fear of judgment, because they fear whatever they put out in the open world, they're going to get someone saying they don't like it. They don't like the hair, they don't like the style, they don't like her face. And sometimes it's not even about the content. So this fear of judgment, I think, stems from when we're young. And with Women's International Day coming up, women get judged a lot as well in the workplace because we have been traditionally groomed, I guess, to think that women's place is in the home. So when we go into the workplace, I think sometimes men get challenged and then we get judged. We get preconceptions that we cannot handle some jobs. So today we have the Malaysian's Iron Lady of Architecture with us. So let me introduce her. She is Datuk Tang Pei Ing, and she has a really good track record to showcase exactly what we're talking about, because she is the founder of PI Architect, which is responsible for some of Malaysia's most recognizable buildings, the Marriott Hotel, the IOI City Mall, and Le Méridien Hotel being some of them. She is also the past president of the Malaysian Institute of Architects, is known as PAM, and also the past president of the Architects Regional Council of Asia. So not only in Malaysia, but Asia as well, right? So like I said, she is known in Malaysia as the Iron Lady of Architecture because of her excellence, but also because the outspoken resistance to gender discrimination, which is exactly what we're going to explore today. So thank you, Pei Ling, for coming in and sharing with us your experience and your story. So would you like to say something?
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm also glad to be able to be given the opportunity to share my experience. So hopefully we will help to inspire some of the younger generation not to be afraid to take out the challenge, to pursue their passion. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So before we start, everyone who's here with us, if you have any questions, feel free to do one of two things. Either you can raise your hand and then we'll bring you up on stage to ask your questions face to face. Or if you prefer to type it, please do. You can just type your questions in, and then I'll ask it on your behalf for you. Okay? So feel free. This is a very relaxed and casual atmosphere that we want to create for everyone. So if anything we discuss inspires you or asks you, give us feedback, right? We want to hear from you. We want you to participate. Okay? So let's start. So the first question I have for you is, have you ever doubted yourself when they say this profession is not for women? And how would you overcome that self-doubt or worry? Or did you even have it?
Actually, I was well aware that this architecture profession is very male-dominated, even well before I actually went to pursue the architecture course. In fact, I have faced a lot of resistance even from my own parents and my family, and they did not encourage me to take on the course. But because I have a lot of passion that this is the interest of my life, so I finally convinced them and took on architecture. Of course, being a woman in the construction industry that's considered very male-dominated, I've gone through my fair share of gender discrimination. So when I returned to Malaysia after graduation in the mid-80s, Malaysia was going through a very bad recession. I had a lot of difficulties even getting a job offer, right? After going through many rounds of interviews, and everybody tell me the same thing, you're a female, you're not suitable, so we're not going to offer you any job. So after many rounds of interview, I ended up, being engaged in a small practice, and that's also due to some friends' recommendation. But despite of all these difficulties, I have never self-doubted, because I strongly believe that in any chosen field, there are always challenges, and gender discrimination is probably only just one of them. So we should not allow that to deter us from pursuing our dream and passion. I was also very determined to take on the challenge and prove other people wrong. So my desire to excel, my passion for architecture, sort of pushed me, and so I persevere. So although I have to work much harder to prove my capability, but the journey has helped me to build my strength and resilience, and give me a lot of satisfaction.
Wow, that is great, because you didn't start off easy, right? Because even your parents didn't think it was possible, right?
Yes.
So I'm very interested to actually pick your brains for what gave you that so strong push, because when you go out and repeatedly get rejected for jobs that people say, oh, woman, not a woman, or whatever, how do you keep that mindset of being strong and keep going? Is it the passion, or what was it? Because most people would probably say, oh, after a few rejections, I'll just have to take whatever comes to me. But
passion is very important. I think in life, if you have the passion, you are able to overcome all the hurdles that are being presented to you. Like I said, gender discrimination is only one of the hurdle in life. In life, there are so many other challenges. So if you are passionate about it, end of the day, I think you can persevere, right? And I think also because the way that I'm being brought up, I don't give up easily. So perseverance is very important. And of course, your commitment. And in life, I like to take on challenges and take challenges head on. And I like to prove people wrong. So probably that character of me in a way helped me to push through a lot of hurdles as well.
Great. Yeah.
Yes. But at the end of the day, to me, passion is the most important.
Yes.
So I've been telling my daughter as well. I mean, being a doctor is also not easy, but her passion helped her. She doesn't mind going to work, being on call, working through 24 hours. But if you don't have the passion, you will give up quite easily. Yeah.
Right. I think that's very true. If we have the passion, the fire will keep us going, right?
Right. Yeah. Nothing in life is easy anyway. Yeah.
It's very inspiring. But so when you started, or as you're going along, have you ever had colleagues, partners, or even clients who would doubt your ability because they feel, oh, she's a woman, or she doesn't know any better, or even put you down in a way? Did you have that, and how did you overcome that?
As I highlighted earlier, I actually encountered many incidents of gender discrimination throughout my career, especially in the early 80s and even in the 90s, right? And just to give you an example, I've been very involved with the PAM, which is the Malaysian Institute of Architects. So I have actually undergone one of the most contested and intense election more than 18 years ago, as there were a lot of doubts by some senior members on my capability because I'm a female. But however, because I have been contributing and showing my leadership capability, so I was elected as the first female president of PAM after 80 years of PAM's history. So wow. It's really male-dominated. And when I was running for the president-elect of the Architects Regional Council Asia in 2011, again, there were a lot of doubts expressed by some of the people, on the acceptance of a female president, especially, under the Asian context. There are a lot of countries like Japan, Korea, that are basically regarded quite male-dominated and male-chauvinistic. But surprisingly, I won the election with a convincing votes of 15-3 from 18 architectural institutes. I think they voted me because they could see my contribution and the acknowledgement of my leadership skill. So I think the most effective way of removing any doubts is actually to show your capability and your commitment. And when I represent the institutes and also Board of Architects in many meetings with the government and industry stakeholders, Every time when I walk into the room, I could sense the initial doubts, whether, this woman, what is she doing here? Especially there are many males. So it's very important for you to maintain your self-confidence, and you must speak with authority and also knowledge. You must know what you're doing, and you must speak with conviction. I think progressively, they change their opinion, and they accepted me that I'm capable, and so after that, they see beyond the gender. And just to share with you, there was one study trip that I went with our minister to do a study trip overseas. Everybody would think that I'm one of the spouse, They never recognize me as a professional. So by the end of the day, you must be prepared to speak out, And I mean, even in my own practice, when I started my practice, one of the CEO of a very well-established company also expressed doubt. In fact, he told his manager, why do you give the job to her? She's a female, and at the time I was quite young, in the early 30s. So don't ever give her any more job. So, but anyway, I took it as a challenge. We gave them very good service. We did our job properly and professionally. So, end of the day, I changed his mind. So he gave us more and more projects, and also projects of a larger scale. So I always remind myself of what Bill Gates said. Life is not fair, so you must learn to deal with it. It's very true. Life is not fair, and the world doesn't offer a level playing field at all levels and all aspects. Gender inequality is probably just one of them. So rather than crying and moaning and complaining, so just love what you do and do great in what you love, and I think you will be successful.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Thank you for sharing that, because I also feel that life is not fair. There's never fair.
Correct.
It cannot be fair, right? In a way, because there's so much diversity and everyone is from different situations and you encounter different experiences. So it's not going to be the same unless the communist world wants to be like more equality, but it didn't work either, right? So it's not about that. It is about how we face the challenges. Right. So thank you very much for sharing that.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, when you were facing all these people saying, "Oh, she's a woman, she can't do this job, I'm not going to give you these jobs," or "Oh, are you a spouse? Where's your husband?" or any of that, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever get really annoyed or frustrated that they keep asking you this?
Yeah, I mean, initially I did get a bit irritated, but at the end of the day, I think you yourself must remove your self-doubt, right? You must have the confidence. So subsequently, I find that when you ignore all this and basically just show what you're capable of doing, people will then look beyond that. So I think that's very important. It's also how you carry yourself, You must be confident, but if you allow them to intimidate you, right? So to a certain degree, you're not doing yourself justice. So I basically look beyond that and try to prove to them that I can do it. So because now I'm being recognized that as one of the very active member in the profession, so I do face this issue less and less.
Right. So how would you advise us who are starting out? And if we encounter these things, I mean, for me, sometimes when they say that, I cannot help but defend myself, right? And sometimes I guess we can go overboard to defend rather than just. But then you don't want to lose your cool, right? When you're defending, it's like, oh, see, females are all emotional and all that. So how would you advise us when people do say that she's not good enough, or she's a woman, or even she's not capable or whatever? It may not be just because we're female. It may be for other things. How do we stand up? How do we show them? I mean, how did you show the board that you are more capable than the men?
Yeah, action speaks louder than word. There's no point defending. I mean, end of the day, when you defend yourself, it's just ending out having a quarrel or fighting. To me, action speaks louder than word. And how you carry yourself also, it speaks louder than word. Right? You should not allow them to intimidate you. Like I walk into the meeting, when I first present myself, people are not listening. But the fact that you are able to speak with the knowledge, people will start listening to you. So after a while, people think that you're capable. So then the doubt will be removed in that sense. But if you go in and allow, you are just defending yourself by virtue of arguing over it. You should not be treating me this way. People will still treat you this way because they're not convinced. So to remove any doubt is through your action and the fact that you display the knowledge, right? That's required for the job. So like I said, don't give up so easily. Initially, you may face the resistance, but end of the day, if you can portray that image of confidence and knowledge, people will accept you.
Great.
Yeah.
So we have a question from Katie. Hi, Katie. So she says that I'm also an architect and have worked in Kuala Lumpur, indeed very gender biased. How do you help women in architecture field now that you are an established architect?
Okay. As you know, I am a strong advocate for gender equity. So, but I feel that pushing for gender equity agenda must be a joint effort by everybody, not just by female alone. No point for female keep shouting, I want to be treated fairly, because it will never happen. I think you have to work at a higher level. That's why I was involved with the International Union of Architects. I chair the subcommittee on gender equity in architecture. So we actually promote this policy on gender equity in architecture. And that document was adopted by the General Assembly. I'm currently also chairing the Special Committee on Gender Equity in PAM. We also publish what we call the Declaration and also Gender Equity Policy in Architecture, because I think it's very important to educate and to promote, because a lot of the industry, sometimes they do it without being aware. I think the active promotion of this policy to say that we need to recognize the contribution of female. And at the end of the day, we're talking about diversity and inclusivity. So that's why we're actively pushing for this policy. So this policy will basically deal with ownership of leadership in the profession, participation as an employee in the profession, and then representation and governance even within the institute itself and the programs. And we also look at setting up principles to acknowledge that there's an obligation to accommodate the diverse needs of the community, and also how we should respond effectively to the diversity of members. But at the end of the day, we're not talking about only gender. We're talking about diversity in terms of every aspect, not just gender, but also in terms of race. And at the end of the day, I think having a diverse community will make the world a better one, because you have different views. I mean, even individual, we come from different background. Even for the same gender, all of us has got different view. But it's the diversity that makes life better, and we are promoting equitable practice. So I think, end of the day, I don't even want to talk about gender equity anymore. I want to talk about inclusivity and diversity. And that's our ultimate goal. But of course, because now the gender disparity is still there, so we need to create a platform to allow female participation and provide the infrastructure so that they can stay and retain in the profession. Because the current environment is not very conducive for female architects. So that's why the policy actually advocate all these equitable practice, how we can deal with some of this issue to provide a platform and to retain female in the profession. So that's the first step that we are pushing for. I can share with you our equity policy that has been published, and now we're actively promoting it.
Right. Yeah. That's excellent. I think hope that answers your question, Katie. So everyone
can join my committee. Yeah, from Kuala Lumpur, architect. My committee is open to all the members. In fact, my committee is not just female, it's also male, because we need the male to also push for the agenda to recognize that equity is very important for the profession and for the community. Can you imagine the whole world with only male and without female involvement? It's very grey and very dull, right?
Yeah. So
it is important. Yeah.
Yeah. So Katie, please reach out. You've got an invite to push this forward.
Yeah.
Excellent. So keep the questions coming in, everyone. If you've got questions, you can either raise your hand or just type it in the chat, and in that case, I will ask it for you. Okay. So don't be shy. We've got a super inspirational lady here. Make use of this time with her, okay? So keep asking your questions. So let us move on. So
one more advice to women architects as well. Don't keep self-branding yourself as women architects. you are all trained as, and you graduate as an architect, graduate, and you go through the same exam and you become registered. Don't keep self-branding yourself as a woman architect. We must treat ourselves as equal to all the other registered architects because we have undergone, probably equal training, and we are just as good. So you must embrace your own uniqueness and your femininity. But end of the day, you are qualified. So don't let anybody intimidate you, and you don't also self-brand yourself.
Oh, I want to come and give you a hug for that. Excellent.
Yeah.
So we've got another question from Julia. So who were your mentors and how did you find them?
Throughout my life, that question is referring to my mentor.
Yes.
Okay. I think throughout my life, I have different mentors depending on the stage of my life. When I was younger, my grandmother was probably my mentor because she is a very strict grandma. I was brought up by my grandmother because my parents were busy making a living. I came from a very poor family, actually. So my grandma was the one who actually brought out the 5 of us. So because she is very professional, she's a very strict person. Discipline is very important. So to a certain degree, I was molded by her. Then when I grew up, my father also became my mentor because my father was involved in a lot of voluntary work. So the spirit of volunteerism, to a certain degree, I inherited from my father. And my mom is a perfectionist. So that I also learned to be a perfectionist to a certain degree, learning from my mom. So of course, when I graduated and came back, during uni day, of course, we have people who inspire us. But when I came back, when I started being involved with the Professional Institute, there were a few senior members. They really, really inspired me. One of them is the late Dato Kim Chen Lu. When I first met him, he carried himself in such a professional way. And I told myself, if I want to be an architect, I want to be like him. Very distinguished, very professional. That's what professional is supposed to be. So he inspired me a lot. So when I got involved with PAM, so I took him as one of my mentor. And I had the opportunity to work with him. I learned a lot from him. Of course, there are also a few others. So I think in life, you should take different mentors depending on what you aspire to do. So I have many, many mentors. Even now, I'm learning from a lot of other people. At international level, regional level, you identify a person that you want to aspire to be like, and then you make them your mentor or learn to be like them.
So that we can all level up. So I think who you look for in a mentor to push you forward is actually very important so that we can reach our goals, right?
Correct.
That's great. So keep the questions coming. I love them. And this is a very, very good question, the next one. Because whilst we're talking about gender equality and all that, so we're wondering, have you ever had like competition between women? Because we talk about men all the time. It seems like it's a woman against men, but actually when it's like that, and when women go in together, I think that competition becomes even more fierce sometimes. So do you encounter that?
These are all based on capability and nothing to do with gender. In fact, when I was in school, my best friends were all female. I have 4 very good friends. Until now, we still keep that strong bond. We call ourselves 2.5 pairs, and we still maintain the very close relationship. And when I was doing matriculation, I was doing double science, double maths. I think my class, there were only 3 female. So again, we became very, very close to each other and supported each other. And when I was pursuing architecture in Melbourne University, there were also 3 Asian female architects. And we became very close. In fact, we don't compete with each other, we support each other. And now, being involved with the institute and at the board level, there are not that many female architects. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't compete because of gender. I compete based on our principles, based on our ideology. And end of the day, nothing to do with gender. But if another woman wanted to compete with me because I'm a woman, maybe I should feel proud that they think that I'm worthy of being competed with. I don't mind as long as it's a healthy and fair competition. But frankly speaking, I don't. I meet a lot of female architects. I will reach out to them as much as I can and hope to inspire them to take on a leadership role. In fact, we wanted more female leadership in our institute. Yeah.
That's really good.
I don't feel that competition at all.
Something you brought up because I'm a parenting person, I was wondering, do you feel that because you were in a co-ed school, you learn how to deal with boys or better than those who are in an all-girls school? Sometimes I get that thinking. Does it really make a difference? Do you feel that it does?
Yes. In fact, I have always strongly advocated that we should be in the environment that is a neutral environment where all diversity, inclusivity are all in the same community, even in the school environment. Because you must imagine at the end of the day, when you graduate and come out to work, right, you cannot be living in isolation. You are competing in the world that are of all races, all gender, right? So having a school education with only one single gender, to me, I don't think it's that healthy. That's my personal view. So I have always advocated co-ed school. Yeah.
Okay, that's quite interesting because I was wondering that when you said it. Okay, so what about how do you communicate with the male partners or employees in your company? Do you communicate differently, or do you treat them all the same, or do you find that male you have to speak one way, female is another way, in order to nurture them and to coach them and to get them to do things?
Okay, mine is a sole proprietor, so I don't have a male partner.
Okay.
But I do have a lot of male staff. But to me, you run a professional practice, you talk to them on work, so they're all talking about same level. But of course, different individual has got different moods and different characters, so you deal with them according to the character of the person. But when you talk about work, you don't talk to them differently in a sense. And I lead my office in a very open and transparent way. All my staff has got direct access to me, and we talk about issues. They can even give their views. I don't treat them like a staff, but rather treat them like part of my team to achieve the company's objective in providing the service that's required, to ensure our success of delivering the project. So in that sense, that is they can just walk into my office anytime. They don't need to make any appointment. They just have to knock. My door is open most of the time. You just have to stand outside, then I get them to come in. So it's a very open discussion, and nothing to do with gender, more to do with individual character.
Right. Okay. So basically, you feel that they are pretty much the same, rather than, because I do have some people, and even myself, when I'm like grooming the leaders in our company, that sometimes I feel that females do get more emotional in the sense that they feel when we talk to them that we're attacking them because they're more emotional usually. Whereas men is like, okay, whatever, I take it. So they seem to take on feedback better than female counterparts. But that's just from my observation. But I was wondering, do you sometimes see that?
I think maybe it's the way that I treat my staff. Like I say, I don't treat my staff as though I'm more superior than them. I treat them like my team. So when I talk to them, I don't use very stern tone. Even they're wrong, I will explain to them. So if you do not intimidate them, I think they're more open to you. And there's no reason for them to get overly sensitive, because if you talk sense to them, why should they get offended, right? I don't scold them or yell at them at all. I think it's the way that I treat them. So I don't have that problem at all.
Okay. That's great to know.
Yeah. Yes, they speak behind my back, I don't know, but so far, most of my staff stay with me for a long time. Yeah. And so far, I don't seem to have much problem with my staff. Yeah.
They might talk behind your back to say how good you are. They say how lovely you are. Okay, great. So can you share some tips on how to initiate an honest if you address them? I mean, any honest conversation to address anyone who is more male dominated or feel that you want to change their thoughts about the female, or do you have any ways that you can address that environment when you are in there? I mean, like you said, when you go into a room and they're looking at you and thinking that she's a female, is there a way that you share your voice or your message or demonstrate to them that you are capable? Because sometimes you go into, say, a committee and you may not be if you're the president, or sort of you are given the chance to talk. But if you're just sitting there as a committee member and everyone else is male, they might just go boom, boom, boom. And when you want to say something, they may cut you off, right? Or they may just say, or not even let you speak. So how would you address something like that? Or how should anyone address that?
Okay, like I said, I have encountered that, but I will make sure I will continue push forward to have my views heard. Even though I'm being shut, I will still actually, there was one incident I still remember. But to be fair, we are talking about government office. They are dealing with professionals. They won't go to the stage, where they completely shut you off. If you raise your hand a few times and ask to be given a chance to speak, end of the day they will have to listen to you. So, like I say, don't be afraid to speak out. And if you find something that you feel very strongly about, don't keep quiet. I know a lot of people go for meeting, even for male. I'm not talking about even female. They feel intimidated because you're dealing with minister, you're dealing with government officer. They get intimidated. They don't speak out. But if you don't speak out, policies are being pushed through without hearing our objection or our views. So it's very important when you go into any meeting, not just because you're female, to have your views heard. If you don't agree with it, make sure you ask your view to be heard and presented. And to be frank, if everybody has got a mic, if you speak and don't get intimidated for not speaking, they will still listen to you. They have no choice, right? Everybody has a seat. Everybody has got a mic in front of you. The danger of not speaking is, at the end of the day, you're not doing yourself justice. I represent the institute and the board to go for a lot of meetings that involve policy change. So if I don't speak out, can you imagine if things get pushed through and it affects the built environment and the policy? So at the end of the day, we're at the losing end. So that's why when I go into any meeting, I don't treat myself as a female. I treat myself as a representative of the board or the institute. I have a mission to carry out. I have a job to do. And I'll make sure that I deliver the job that's given to me. So like I said, it's your frame of mind when you enter a meeting. Right? So if you're not confident, you refuse to speak out, end of the day, people will just ignore you, right?
Yes, actually, that is an excellent piece of advice, that when we go into a meeting, we don't think of us as an individual going in or a female going in. We are going in because we've got a job to do. Correct. We are there. We've got an obligation and responsibility to actually speak our mind and what we think, because that's the point of going, right?
So your frame of mind when you go into a meeting is very important. I mean, I chair a lot of project meetings involving like 40, 50 people, and most of them are male, hardly any female. But, people listen to me, everybody now say, because you chair the meeting with authority, you know exactly what is happening. You are able to understand issues, even though, as an architect, you basically coordinate works from across the board, from the client to the M&E engineer to the CNS engineer. You must speak with authority.
So I want to go back a little bit to the fear of judgment. Okay, because I think a lot of the times we don't speak up is because we feel that our opinions may not be real judgment, right? So how do you, if any tips on overcoming that and be able to just speak no matter what feedback you get, you just go out there? Any tips from you, from your experience?
I think when you go to any meeting, you must be well prepared, right? You must be knowledgeable with the subject matter. You don't go into a meeting and say things that don't make sense, right? So if you are very knowledgeable about the subject matter, you are able to speak with conviction and able to convince people what you say is correct with facts, right? But if you go into a meeting without preparing for it, definitely, whatever you say, when people start disputing what you say and you got no facts to back you up, then, it makes you look very stupid, right? So for me, when I go to any meeting, I make sure I'm well prepared on the subject matter and know what I'm talking. So end of the day, I'm not afraid to speak up. I'm not afraid to be judged. And at the end of the day, when you have argument, we all agree that we don't agree with each other. Don't be emotional about it. You talk facts, and you want your facts to be recorded. So end of the day, people have different views. You must also respect other people's view. But sometimes in life, certain issues has got different perspective and different views coming from different angle, right? So we will present based on our angle, because everybody also trying to protect their profession to a certain degree when we go talk about government policy. So end of the day, we respect people's view, and we also want people to respect our views and get it properly recorded. Okay. So I'm not worried to be judged unless I'm not sure what I'm saying. And end of the day, I think you must also accept the fact that sometimes when you do not know, and you apologize and accept the fact that you do not know. So you should not be what I'm saying is you don't insist that you're correct. Actually, when you're wrong, be prepared and be strong enough to admit that you're wrong, and people will respect you. I mean, I do go to a meeting, and sometimes I may have misread certain bylaws, so my views may be different. When somebody presented it correctly to me, I accept it and admit that I'm wrong, and people respect you for doing so. Right?
Very good. Thank you for that. Yeah. So the final question, because we're running out of time, very, very insightful so far. But so is the question is gender bias the greatest challenge you faced in your career? If it's not, what is the greatest challenge and how do you overcome it?
Okay, I think, like I said, life is full of challenges. There's not a single day that has gone by without any challenge. To me, gender bias is only a very small part. And if you want to talk about the biggest challenge in my life, actually it's my children and my family. My son was actually diagnosed as autism when he was very young. And my daughter also suffered from very serious sclerosis from the age of 12. And those days were really difficult. We were spending a lot of time in between work, having therapies, special programs. I try my best to accept it and also help and support them. We have gone through don't know how many therapies in my life. It was a very emotional and also not an easy journey. But now my son has graduated with excellent results, and finished his master from University of Melbourne, and is completely independent. And my daughter has also gone through her surgery after many years of failed treatments, and now she's working as a doctor. So if you ask me, how did I go through this difficult period? I think it's my love and my commitment to my children and also to myself. This painful journey has actually strengthened me a great deal. So now I look at my children, they're so successful in their life, brought me a lot of satisfaction. So to me, that is a bigger challenge in my life than gender discrimination. Of course, there are also other challenges in my life. Like I said, life is never easy. People look at me thinking I'm successful, but I came from a very poor family. To be very rich where I am today, running my own practice, there are a lot of challenges that we have gone through. But life is like that. End of the day, accept it. Life is never easy. but don't run away. End of the day, you must make something for yourself. You have a dream, pursue your dream. Don't be afraid of failure. Actually, failure makes you stronger. And unhappiness actually let you enjoy the fruit of success even more. So end of the day, take it as part of life.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's like I mean, like I said, I'm very in touch with my family and parents, and I'm all for like family and mompreneurs, because I believe that women need to love ourselves before we can love our children.
Yes.
As well. So you are like the super example of that. I mean, you had your struggles with your children and the challenges, and then you had this in the business as well, but you plowed through both and has been successfully doing both. So this is you are a supermodel for mompreneurs out there. So thank you so much for.
I think a love of a mom can make you overcome everything else.
Yeah, I believe so. The strength that comes out from that love, it's very hard to describe. And yet it really does push us forward. I really believe that. So lovely, lovely sharing. Thank you. So we have to wrap up. So thank you very much again, Pei Dadok, for sharing today. It was really insightful, and I hope the audience can give her some claps and love and whatever you can do with the emotion reaction here to show her how much we appreciate her. Yay!
I'd like to know who are the participants, and maybe we can.
Yeah.
Yes,
we do. We do. So do reach out. Like I said, Katie, you have a personal invitation to help with the world of architects. So please do reach out. But if you have any questions afterwards, let FEW know. We will put you in touch with Dado. So before we end, don't forget there is a new app. FEW has a new web app, so you can where you can market your business online, grab a coffee with CEOs, experts, investors, and just get resources from there. So thank you everyone for joining this session. I hope you had a good time with us, and hope that we can see you again next time. Okay, so like I said, tomorrow. Connect with us, connect with Pei, connect with me. Let us know your thoughts or anything you want to chat about that arise from this conversation. And as a reminder from FEW, there is an event happening tomorrow with Joanne Kwa. She's the Group CEO of KSK Group and Forbes Asia's Emergent 25 listee. So join the session to find out how she prepared for family business succession. Yes, and you can RSVP on the new web app. Okay, so thank you everyone for being with us. Stay safe, stay healthy, and yes, see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Stay safe.